morning session of the Portland City Council. Rebecca, good morning. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
I've always wanted to say, let's get ready to rumble, but I'm just going to say I'm here. I will say that before the year's over.
But you have to say it right then.
Yeah. Let's get ready to rumble. So, I'm here.
Maps.
Here.
Rubio.
Here.
Ryan.
I don't know what to say after that. Here.
Giller.
And now we'll hear from legal counsel. Lindley, rules of order and decorum, please.
Good morning. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mayor. Welcome to the Portland City Council. To testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance on the council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. Information on engaging with council can be found on the council clerk's webpage. Individuals may testify for 3 minutes unless the presiding officer states otherwise. Your microphone will be muted when your time is over. The presiding officer preserves order. Disruptive conduct such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If you cause a disruption, a warning will be given. Further disruption will result in ejection from the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave once ejected is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Your testimony today should address the matter being considered. When testifying, 1, state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. 2, if you're a lobbyist, identify the organization you represent. 3, virtual testifiers should unmute themselves when the council clerk calls their name. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. First up is communications. First individual, please. Item number 795.
Request of Portland Advocates for Lead-Free Drinking Water to address council regarding Water Bureau's failure to protect public health. And they're joining us online.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here on behalf of Advocates for Lead-Free Drinking Water. In 2021, following yet another Portland Water lead in drinking water failure.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And we'll give you full time. Could you start with your name, please?
Oh, I'm representing Advocates for Lead-Free Drinking Water.
And your name
In
is?
2021, following yet another Portland Water lead in drinking water failure,
It's going to be one of those.
national experts noted that Portland water was, quote, worse than Flint, unquote. None of our city engineers would or will talk about it. Worse, the commissioner in charge of water helped the director cover it up, and council colleagues have remained silent. Water Director Solmer was fired in July, so we're grateful for baby steps. She PR'd her way through multiple lead exceedances and preventable lead exposure. Acting Director Eddie Campbell has had a test run this summer at doing better, but didn't when he did nothing to protect rural neighbors, wildlife, and the environment during Water Bureau excavation of banned pesticide-contaminated soils. After asking, we got excuses for why a follow-up public summer meeting wasn't advertised, nor the Zoom recording posted. No doubt, next, so I go on to back to the subject of lead. Despite the lessons of Flint, Bureau leaders have doubled down, created a plethora of misleading and false marketing. Whether about lead, the Bureau's jaw-dropping $2.13 billion treatment plant in rural county that are already seeing water rates soar. PWB's long-established marketing keeps both Portland ratepayers and rural neighbors in the dark. Now, to finish, I'd like to read 2 excerpts from previous testimony and a press release. We came to the dais in 2019 with this, quote, after finding high lead levels of lead in schools in 2016, Newark Water was forced to admit that improperly treated water was corroding pipes, solder, and fixtures, which elevates lead in drinking water. Newark handed out free water filters swiftly while fixing treatment and replacing pipes at no cost to customers. This press release, the second one, the press release is paraphrased for brevity. And I've asked council clerk to post a snip if she can. If she can't, that's fine, but I'll read the excerpt. So here it is. Quote, it had become clear to EPA that the public was not being protected from lead in drinking water after numerous crises occurred in 2001 with DC, Flint in 2014, Newark in 2018, and Portland since 1997. Thank you. I don't think it's Keelan, but thank you, clerk. You can keep that up for the remainder. We know that free water filters are used as the first default response to protect customers, except here. So we are again asking for them. Last, EPA will release significant revisions to the lead and copper rule this October. Despite our year-long plea to inform the public about this long-awaited health center regulation, which Bureau leaders have known since 2021, Bureau engineers won't say why they want to keep remaining lead in their distribution system. Do you know why? We have high hopes that 12 new commissioners.
You cut out. Thank you. Next individual, please. 796.
Request of Donnie Yarn to address council regarding enforcing health, safety, security, and valuing tenant good faith complaints.
Welcome.
Donnie Yarn.
All right, we'll move to the next individual. 797, please.
Request of Karen McCord to address council regarding development in neighborhood. And Karen's joining us virtually.
Welcome, Karen.
It looks like they've not joined us.
All right, 798.
Request of Justin Wood to address council regarding extension of homebuyer opportunity limited tax exemption and system development charge income caps.
Welcome, Justin.
Good morning. I hope you guys can hear me okay.
Yep, loud and clear.
Great. Well, my name is Justin Wood. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a former chair of DRAC, the Development Review Committee in Portland. And also last year, I had the honor of serving on the governor's Housing Production Advisory Council. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about specifically about the System Development Charge Waiver Program. Last year, council did a great thing, and did a temporary increase to raise that to 120% of median family income for buyers to qualify. That was largely in response to interest rates being where they were, so that buyers really struggled to qualify for our houses. This year, under that program, we've sold 10 houses, and the majority of our buyers would not have been able to buy in those houses utilizing the Holte tax exemption program and the SDC waiver program without that temporary increase. While we have come down from the 7 to 8% interest rates we were seeing, most of the economists agree that the new normal we're going to see is going to be in the 5 to 6% range for several years, not the 2 to 3% that we had a few years ago. And the majority of my buyers that this year would not have qualified even at 5 to 6% at the 100% MFI income range. When I was on the Governor's Housing Production Council, one of the big goals that we had, and one of the governor's goals statewide, is trying to figure out how to get more workforce housing in that 80 to 120% MFI range. And my fear is that without a permanent extension of this program, that we're going to start to see a pretty big drop off in the amount of buyers that can qualify for the SDC waiver program and the Holte program. We're not seeing that right now because of the lag of the homes of the buyers that come in to buy them. So while I know that some of the bureaus will probably have concerns that that the SDC waivers might ultimately affect their bottom lines and what they need to collect for their programs, ultimately, I don't believe that you're going to see much of a change from what they're already accounting for, because I believe that the drop off of buyers is going to be significant without this change. So I'm just wanted to take this opportunity to urge you to please consider asking staff to come back and figure out if it's possible for you guys to consider making that program permanent, because I think it's going to be huge for a lot of the housing we're trying to build right now. So thank you for that. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Justin. I think Commissioner Rubio has a comment. Commissioner Rubio.
Hi, Justin. I just wanted to thank you for your comments today, and thanks for your advocacy around this, because it helped to lead and shape to these changes. And we're definitely also just know that we're very interested in looking at data from PHB. And then once we have that in front of us, we're very open to having that longer conversation about permanency. So we'll be in touch about that with you from the Bureau.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you. Next individual, please. Item number 799.
Request of Addie Smith to address council regarding taking over responsibility of the Community Justice Center and Addie Smith? Okay.
Welcome.
To set up before we start the timer. One of the things that I wanted to comment on were all of the comments being made by Mayor Wheeler and Commissioner Gonzalez, and then the little laughter by Commissioner Ryan. You guys were elected to these positions. If it's going to be one of those days, you were elected to sit there and take it. Nobody asked you to run for office. So if you don't want to be here, quit. Because the stuff that is going on, thank you for walking out. I appreciate that. I will never vote for you again in any capacity, any of you. All of you here received my email about the theft that occurred in my son's apartment. I sent 100 emails. I haven't received a police report. I haven't received any sort of steps that were taken. And then on the 21st, I received a call from the DA's office who said that she had been assigned the case. Now, I requested the police report, only got a number, didn't get any sort of paperwork, no communication after I initially sent emails back and forth showing pictures of the thefts that occurred in my son's apartment. I didn't receive anything in the mail, didn't receive any sort of communication that says these are the steps we're taking, or Ms. Smith, we're at this point in the investigation. We need to talk to your son. We're at this point in the investigation. We need to get the video from the building. Nothing. This was in June or July when I first got back from New York. I didn't receive a call from the DA's office until August 21st, who said she got the case the day before and that there was nothing they could do. I said, well, send me the paperwork. Send me the police report. Still haven't gotten it. And all of you here received those emails, every single one of you. None of you intervened. None of you said, send Ms. Smith the paperwork. Send her the police report in writing. This woman says to me, oh, you're not sorry, and I don't accept your apology. I actually don't even want to hear your apology. Tell me the law.
As a woman of God, I won't allow you to speak that
I
way.
don't accept your apology. I don't even need to know that. That's none of my business.
God bless you.
Crystal, I am recording the call, and I'm going to play it at the next city council. Crystal, in the DA's office in Portland, said that she was a woman of God and would not accept that I told her that I don't accept her apology. What did God have to do with her doing her job, or God have to do with any of it? So because I said I was going to talk to an attorney, Chief Day and his executive assistant, Robert King, said to me, well, since you brought up legalities and all of this stuff, we're no longer going to talk. All of you have received my email, every single one of you. And you did nothing. And when I say to you, and this happened right here, this is something you guys could do something about, and you appointed Chief Day. You did. And none of you have done anything about the theft that occurred in my son's apartment, not even to say, give her the paperwork so that she'll have a paper trail. I don't understand it. And then you want our votes. Democrats blindly vote for you and support you, and you do not. Black people, we blindly support Democrats, and we get absolutely nothing in return. Nothing. Nothing. And you give us these looks. You think you owed our vote. You think you just owed the black vote.
All right, thank you. You're way over on your time.
Police report in writing. I want it sent to me that outlines each step the police officers took.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you for being here
Am I
today.
going to get the police
I'm
report?
asking you politely.
Is that a no?
You heard the rules, and you're in violation of the rules.
I am not
And
in
so
violation of the rules.
You are. You've made your request clear,
I don't care what position you run for, you will never get my vote.
and I will
I'm gonna
never
start
seek
a
it. You have
lobbyist
my
for
word.
black
Thank you.
people. I'm gonna start a lobbyist for black people, Democrats.
I'm
You're done
going to
getting my
ask you
vote.
to step away,
I'm
please, from the
stepping away.
podium.
I'm stepping away.
Thank you.
You're not going to incite me. I'm already upset. You shouldn't be in office. None of you should be. And if I have to seek counsel to get the police report, that's what I'm going to do, because you are a horrible person. I see why you have Secret Service.
That's
Not a
really
good person.
inappropriate. That is
Not a good
really
person.
inappropriate.
Oh, that's when you speak out.
Yes, it's
Hey,
when I speak
Gonzalez,
up.
That's when you
You
speak
come in
out.
here and waste
Let's get ready to
hours in
rumble.
this session.
This man
You waste
said,
hours of our
"Get ready
time.
to rumble." He gets
All right,
it.
thank you.
And nothing. Stay silent, people.
Mr. Mayor, item 796, Donnie Yarn has joined us online.
Great. Thank you, Addie. I'm sure we'll see you again. Yes, go ahead.
Do you see how that's horrible? No one sees how that's insightful. Am I the only
Good.
one?
Addie, thank you.
Not a Portland issue.
We've heard you.
It's horrible and unprofessional, and they still haven't sent the police report for the theft that occurred, and they want our vote. They want the black vote, and this is how we are treated. This is why.
Addie, we have other people signed up who would also like to testify. Thank you.
Horrible.
Thank you. Got it. Message received, loud and clear.
Is she a Portland resident?
Doesn't matter. Do we
Item-
have seven?
We do. Item
who do we have?
796, request of Donnie Yarn to address council regarding enforcing health, safety, security, and valuing tenant good faith complaints.
Great. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah. How y'all doing? My name is Donnie Yarn. I am registered a resident here in Portland, Oregon. I'm here today to speak on behalf of enforcing affordable housing tenant rights to clean and habitable living environment. Our city is facing many of these housing properties that violate city codes and fail to or refuse to take accountability. We see families struggling to afford basic necessities, communities grappling with unsafe living conditions, neighborhoods experiencing economic and social decline. These issues impact all of us, and without bold action from the council, the situations will only worsen. Today, I urge you to consider enforcing landlords to uphold their duties. They can provide housing security to improve public safety and ensure environment stability. I've personally seen and have been affected by the impact of unsanitary and unsafe living conditions here in the community. In my area, specifically East Portland, by enforcing and addressing this would ensure true fair housing and provide safety, health, and security where it's needed the most. I understand that the situation requires investment and collaboratory actions, but the cost is in action is far greater. When we invest in enforcing landlord's duties, we are investing to ensure a future for all the city's well-being for the residents. I asked if the priorities of this need is granted among us to commit and make Portland a place where everyone has an opportunity to strive. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your consideration in this critical issue. My name is Donnie Yarn.
Donnie, thank you for your testimony. And I think you speak for many, many people in this community and probably, frankly, all over the place. You're right. Those fair housing laws do need to be enforced, and we need the support of people like you to help us understand when there have been violations of those laws. So if there's information that you would like to provide us that's specific, related to your housing situation, we would absolutely be very happy to help you. Everything you said makes perfect sense to me, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here and underscore that message.
Appreciate you.
The fair housing laws do need to be enforced, and that's our job, and we need communities' help to identify those times and places where it is not being adhered to. And Donnie, are you saying you'll get in touch with him?
Yes.
Donnie Oliveira is going to get in touch with you, Donnie. Two
All right.
Donnies working together. You'll be a formidable
Oh,
team.
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. I totally appreciate you guys accepting my request. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Have
for
a great
being here.
day.
Yeah, you too. Thank
All
you,
right.
sir. Take care. Bye-bye. Does that complete communications?
It does.
All right, very good. We'll go to the consent agenda. Have any items been pulled off the consent agenda?
No items have
Please
been
call the
pulled.
roll.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the consent agenda is adopted. We'll move to the first time certain item, please. Believe it or not, it is item number 800 this year.
Provide emergency housing services by continuing the current housing emergency.
I'm pleased to bring forward this ordinance today. The ordinance in question continues the emergency we're in. It extends the duration for 3 years. This extension will support the work outlined in the recently adopted Homeless Response System, IGA. It includes a deeper level of coordination and oversight and a more detailed action plan for the homelessness response that will be coming in the next years. Implementation of the new IGA and the action plan are now well underway. We're already making positive headway, and I'll turn it over to Donnie Oliveira, DCA for Economic Development, to go ahead and kick off the presentation. Good morning.
Thank you, Mayor.
Donnie.
Good morning, Commissioners. Donnie Oliveira for the record. The state of emergency declarations by council have allowed our shelter projects to stay in compliance with zoning code and provided an expedited review process for affordable housing. These operational improvements have provided significant efficiencies and improvements to be able to address expedited affordable housing development and to provide service locations to people experiencing homelessness. We are extending this emergency for 3 years to ensure that we have all the available tools at our disposal to meet ongoing community needs and to support these implementation efforts. Here to provide us with some information on this item is Housing Bureau Director Helmi Hissrich, and I believe we had additional staff available for questions if they come up. Helmi, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Helmi Hissrich, Director, Portland Housing Bureau. The state of emergency is one of many actions the city has taken to acknowledge and address the housing and homelessness crisis in Portland. Among other things, it allows the city to provide emergency shelter, emergency housing, and services for the duration of the state of emergency. This is the 6th extension of the housing state of emergency, and previous ordinances were adopted ending in 2015, ending in October 2017, ending in February 2019, and March 31, 2021. The most recent extension was Ordinance 190756 that extended the housing emergency for 36 months, ending March 2025.
Very good. Does that complete the presentation?
That's the presentation.
All right, colleagues, any questions on this matter?
Just have
Commissioner Gonzalez.
So, you know, this has been the never-ending housing emergency declaration. Can you just remind us of operationally what this is really doing from a legal perspective?
We can actually have, Lindley, would you like to answer that one, please?
Lindley Reese, City Attorney's Office. So under the city's code, under the temporary activities chapter, we're allowed to provide for mass shelters, outdoor shelters, and that requires a declared emergency to do that. We also have code language that allows for short-term shelters and outdoor shelters, but there's some limitations on that that don't allow some of the configurations of the shelters we currently have.
I guess this is I mean, I'm fully supportive of putting in place a legal framework that allows us to continue to build and provide shelter. I don't think that's a controversial piece. What's increasingly concerning is just the length of this housing emergency that never ends. And at what point do we need more fundamental, more structural evolution or approach to housing so that we don't continue to have to do this? And let me ask a precise question. Task site Safe Rest Villages, we're getting good push through. I mean, this has been an innovative model that has worked. Appreciate Commissioner Ryan and others who've led that charge. Do we expect this to be part of our landscape for the next decade?
I would say yes that's probably something that's likely unless there's another solution that comes out that we're not familiar with.
So I think it begs the question, at what point do we address this in a more structural, more fundamental way, as opposed to being dependent on emergency declaration and after emergency declaration? Why not just fix the code in a more sustainable and permanent way if we're being honest with ourselves and saying it's going to be here for the next decade? Let's treat it as such and no longer as a pursuant to emergency powers.
Great question, Commissioner. I think one of the fundamental aspects that this emergency allows us to do is streamline process and move through a system to address the emergency at hand, right? So when it comes to sheltering the homeless populations of Portland, all tools in the toolkit need to be not just available, but readily available. And the emergency gives us that pathway to essentially move quickly through a system that otherwise land use laws of Oregon and Portland, take a little more time.
And I just would encourage the bureaucracy, for lack of a better term, if this is and I would not argue against. I think we have to assume that these shelter sites are going to be part of the landscape for the next decade. Then we need code that reflects that. And if we need to bring on shelter more quickly, then we need to find ways to streamline the process that's not dependent on emergency declaration, that is structural and fundamental in the system. I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Actually, Commissioner Gonzalez asked almost all the same questions. I was thinking the same thoughts about how could we put this in the code, and because it is a sixth time. And so I think I was getting in the same place. And your answer also was very helpful. So I get why we're passing this today, but I do hope we look to a better long-term legislation to this end, and then we can continue to solve the problem that way. Thanks.
Commissioner Mapps.
Yeah, of course, I support this item, and my question is sort of along the lines that some of the themes brought up by Commissioner Gonzalez. I think this is probably most appropriate for either the city attorney or the mayor or Mike. Does the new charter change the dynamics of emergency declarations? Like I can see under the old system where we had bureaus divided amongst different commissioners declaring an emergency and providing the mayor or the city attorney or the city administrator with control over different bureaus in a specific policy space is very handy, and that's kind of historically how we've done it. And I appreciate the conversation today because it sounds like we're finding a workaround for some zoning laws perhaps, which might not be covered by charter reform. But will the dynamics of when and where and what an emergency declaration, will that change under the new system?
That's a good question. I think I probably am most appropriate to answer this. The charter itself does not address declarations of emergency. It's a statutory mandate that we have procedures for emergencies. The council adopted code earlier this year, probably April or May, I can't recall, that essentially it'll go into effect January 1st, but it essentially realigns the emergency powers to reflect the new form of government. But essentially it remains very similar to what we have now, which is the mayor will be declaring emergencies for particular periods of time, and it retains this particular authority for declaring housing and shelter emergencies. So that hasn't changed. And the housing and shelter emergencies currently have to be declared by council, and after January 1st will also still have to be declared by council.
Thank you very much. That's helpful.
All right. Do we have public testimony on this item?
We have one person signed up.
All right, let's hear it.
Brian Conley.
Welcome back, Brian.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and fellow Portlanders. I'm Brian Conley, City Council candidate for District 3 and resident of Montevilla. First, let me thank Mayor Wheeler for putting forward this resolution to extend the emergency housing ordinance. Not because it's good policy, as it's not, but because it's an absolute necessity. The reason this ordinance needs to be extended is because the abject failure of the current administration running our city. Making decisions by emergency ordinance is no excuse for lack of vision, creativity, and accountability from our leaders. Over the last 4 years, the Housing Bureau has underspent its allocated budget by hundreds of millions of dollars. How should any of us expect to make progress solving the housing crisis if the money that experts believe is necessary isn't being put to use? Legislating by emergency declaration for nearly 10 years is bad legislating. No, that's not strong enough. It's lazy, out of touch, and exhibits a profound disregard for the real lived experience of Portlanders, particularly those who can no longer afford to live in our city. This is an election year. It's time for bold ideas, not shrugs of frustration or indifference. Commissioner Gonzalez brought up the fact that there may be city code changes that we can make. My question to him and to all of you is, why aren't you taking responsibility for those adjustments, making those changes? We shouldn't be sitting here talking about this crisis and you're still asking questions about how you can deal with it. Gonzalez has been in office for 2 years. The rest of you have been in office for 4 years or more. You've had plenty of time to learn how to fix this. If there are structural impediments in city code that are limiting affordability and restricting development, why haven't you fixed those? Stop shrugging your shoulders or distracting voters with jingoistic talk about drug dealers and the unhoused. Instead of pushing those who can't afford housing farther and farther out, moving the problem around rather than solving it, you should be working double or triple time to provide everyone in Portland a place to be. The problem is not Portlanders who can't afford a place to live. It's that you, our city leaders, have failed to lead. City Code 15.08.020, authority during a state of emergency, provides the mayor the option to establish rent controls and provide temporary or permanent housing by purchase, lease, or otherwise. I'm not sure why I, as a citizen, a resident, and a council candidate, have to be here to tell you all that. I would love to hear from each of you about how you're going to change how this ordinance is implemented, how that's finally going to change the facts on the ground. I look forward to hearing about how this emergency will lead to real implementation, follow-through, performance metrics, monitoring, and most of all, accountability. Fortunately, as anyone can read on Oregon Live, we have an abundance of candidates putting forward real plans and commitments to fix Portland's housing crisis. Thank you.
Good luck in your campaign.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just speak for myself on this point, if I may. I anticipated, and I told Donnie before this session, I'm sure the question is going to get asked, why are we declaring an emergency year after year after year? And the answer is we're not wholesale changing our code. We're not wholesale revising our zoning ordinances. They're there for very good reasons. And I do not support wholesale changes to those ordinances. What I do support is allowing, under emergency circumstances, very narrow exceptions to those ordinances so that we can quickly locate services like our task sites, which otherwise would take us years to get through the Board of Appeals and the other requirements that would have to be in place. So I don't support just opening the floodgates to every project in the city of Portland violating our existing zoning. But when it comes to getting people off the streets and connecting them to the services that they need, I strongly support those narrow exceptions. So that is the spirit in which we've done it. And I believe it's not just, and Lindley, you can correct me, I honestly don't know the answer to this question. I don't think it's just our codes that we are able to adjust. Doesn't this also give us some standing with regard to state statute, or am I incorrect on that point? I may be wrong about that.
I can neither confirm nor deny. I'm not sure. I can look that up if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I'd be curious just at a later date. But
That was a good lawyer answer, by the way.
That was fabulous. So that's the spirit in which we're doing this. It's not that we're ignoring the ordinances or the zoning codes or trying to, ignoring a long-term solution. It's really for very narrow, specific reasons that we do this. It allows us to cite some of these services quickly. But your point is well taken, and I do appreciate it, like Commissioner Gonzalez. Thank you for running. I think you see what you're getting yourself into, And I'm always really appreciative when people are willing to step forward and do that and represent the community. So my hat's off to you. Thank you, sir. I'm taking it you're up next.
Yes. Yes, Bridge
Great.
Crane, Simca Johnson.
Good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Bridge Crane, Simca Johnson. I will confirm or deny regarding the mayor's question. Since I was before this body, when Charlie Hales and Steve Novick were still doing their thing up here, I don't know if any of you I don't think any of you go back that far. So it is correct that the state could get snotty about certain land use issues that affect TAS and other places. And so this does give us some wiggle room about potential state enforcement, which would seem really unlikely to happen under any of the governors we've had. And I think this was originally set for 15 minutes, and part of the reason we still have this emergency is because of the way we cope with or push off responsibility for this emergency, because this emergency is solved a little bit by the Joint Office of Homeless Services and a little bit by the Portland Housing Bureau and a little bit by Home Forward and a little bit by Urban Alchemy. And so there's so many puzzle pieces, and I don't think that in the next 100 days before most of you leave office, we're going to readjust those puzzle pieces for a quick victory. But it seems pretty likely that 40% of you, Mr. Ryan and Mr. Gonzalez, will still be working at a city council dais come January. And I know that when we were discussing the city's partnership with the Joint Office of Homeless Services, there was a lot of very appropriate skepticism about how we're able to move forward under the joint office structure. So come January, when the 12 new commissioners are here and we're fully under the new charter, I hope there will be some effective and deep conversations about if a Joint Office of Homeless Services that loves to brag about having 38 community partner organizations is really getting the numbers. Hopefully by that time, now that the Joint Office of Homeless Services has a new website, johs.us, johs.us, which doesn't give you any granularity. There's some big braggy numbers about people put into housing, people offered shelter services, but there's certainly no deep truth there about how many people went through revolving doors, got publicly assisted housing or shelter, and then ended up in jail or going through eviction court. And if we're going to get a handle on the problem, there's going to have to be some specific, fluid, and deep conversations about that. So I look forward to you doing what you can before January and the next batch of work that will come.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here.
That concludes testimony.
All right. Any further discussion on this, colleagues? Further questions for staff? Donnie, did you have something else you wanted to say?
Thank you, Mayor. Don Oliveira for the record. I invited Director Hisarick to respond to the comment about the Housing Bureau spending, because I think it's important to, for the record, have that clear about how effective the Bureau has been at spending resources for affordable housing in general. But I also just wanted to echo and reflect on something you mentioned, Mayor, about the reason for the emergency. Yes, there are code. Our existing code is designed for how we run our city in a non-emergency state. But given the continuation of this crisis we're in, the emergency gives the city staff tools to activate as needed. So as opposed to going through the permitting processes, even though we improve them, there are still limitations to how fast we can go. The tools in this ordinance allow staff to move through those quickly and to be agile enough to when we have new resources or new sites to activate, we can do so in an effective manner. Any day someone is homeless is a problematic day. So we're trying to get as many people off the streets as possible. We need all tools activated as quickly as possible, and this ordinance gives us that ability. And the last thing I want to offer is we have a lot of priorities when it comes to rethinking how we use our land use and zoning code for the urban form in Portland. And I want to just offer that every priority we have just makes each other priority a little less important. So as we think about affordable housing, market rate housing, activation, industrial lands, those are all problematic challenges we have that we're working on. And I'd like to ask us to stay focused on our work plans that we have today to deliver that. And we have tools like emergency ordinances to focus on other things to allow those to exist. Thank you.
Thanks, Donnie, for the clarification.
Thank you, Helmi Heserick. Just to correct the record regarding fund spending, the Portland Housing Bureau has not underspent its budget by hundreds of millions of dollars, and in fact has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on housing in record time with greater results than anticipated. So I think we want to make clear that the Bureau is actually doing an excellent job in terms of expenditure. I also want to state that the housing emergency is because the shelters are considered temporary housing. There are cities around the world, both in the U.S. and internationally, that have solved homelessness. It is a solvable problem. It is not something that happens in 2 years. It does take time. And I think that the emergency ordinance is continuing on because we are in the process of finding solutions. And I think Portland has made great strides in finding solutions for homelessness.
Thank you, Director Hesser. Appreciate it. Great, thank you. Anything else before I move this along? All right, this is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moved to second reading. Thank you, everybody. To the regular agenda, please, item 807, a proclamation.
Proclaim September 2024 to be National Sickle Cell Awareness Month.
Commissioner Maps.
Well, thank you very much. Do we have our invited guest either online or in the room?
Yes, we do. We
Okay,
are.
great. I can't see on my screen, but I'm glad you're there. Here, before we get to our invited guest colleagues, I'd like to say a few words. Today, we come together to proclaim September to be National Sickle Cell Awareness Month here in Portland, Oregon. Now, over 100,000 Americans live with sickle cell disease, which is a painful and life-altering genetic condition that disproportionately impacts Black and Brown communities, including many right here in Portland. Sickle cell disease can lead to severe pain, infection, damage to vital organs, and it often shortens life expectancy. While the challenges of sickle cell disease remain daunting, recent scientific advancements have brought hope. New treatments, including FDA-approved drug therapies, have improved the lives of many patients, and groundbreaking research continues to push us closer to a cure. The National Institutes of Health, through initiatives like the Cure Sickle Cell Initiative, are working tirelessly to develop safe and scalable gene therapies to treat this disease. And as we proclaim September to be National Sickle Cell Awareness Month, we must redouble our efforts to support individuals and families impacted by sickle cell disease. This means improving access to quality health care, promoting and partnering with community organizations, and continuing to invest in research that brings us closer to a cure. Now, with this proclamation, we celebrate the resilience of those living with sickle cell disease, the progress we have made, and the work that is still ahead. And now, to tell us more about this work, we are joined by two distinguished guests. Pastor Marcia Taylor, who is the Executive Director of the Sickle Cell Foundation of Oregon, and Charles Smith, who is a project coordinator with the Sickle Cell Foundation of Oregon. Thank you very much. I'll turn the presentation over to our guest now. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so pleased to be here to share more about sickle cell anemia. As you just stated, my name is Pastor Marcia Taylor, CEO and Executive Director, and I'm so pleased to have my right hand with me is Mr. Charles Smith. He's also our lead social worker, and we're happy for the proclamation. We are all about raising awareness and education. Just a little bit about the agency. We started over 40 years ago after my mom's best friend lost a child to sickle cell disease, and it was the first time we'd ever heard of it. Both of them were nurses. And I didn't know that I was about to give birth to a child who also would be born with sickle cell. We started over 40 years ago as a support group, and then it evolved into a 501c3 nonprofit agency. And then we began working toward developing programs specifically designed and dedicated to accommodating the needs of those that face sickle cell challenges every day, such as access to care and socioeconomical support, mental health, and isolation, and so many others. And for those of you that may have never learned anything at all about sickle cell, it is a group of disorders that cause red blood cells to become misshapen, shaped like a sickle, and it causes great pain. It shortens the lifespan of those that are affected by it. What happens is, under certain conditions, the normal red blood cells take on a sickle shape, which block those normal cells. And every time that happens, the blood cells that are normal and they take that shape, it creates something like a blockage or a dam. Recently, we had a client in Eugene. We had become involved with this client being medically transported from Eugene, Oregon to Portland to OHSU, where she was transfused not once but twice. And I say it's a lack of education. They often take our clients for drug seekers, and so she was not given enough pain medication to make her comfortable, and they didn't understand that she needed to be transfused to save her life. One of the things that we'll be seeking for now is help to establish statewide emergency sickle cell protocols, just like we have for those that are about to have a heart attack. And we're hoping we'll have something like Code Red when they come in and they're in this excruciating pain, whether it's from a cold or exertion or infection. It needs to be looked into right away. And I will yield to Charles to talk more about what we do in this agency, like helping with first and last month's rent. And we treat the whole person, and I'd like him to give you more information. And thank you so much for inviting us here today to share more information.
Thank you, Pastor. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Pastor Taylor. I'm Chuck Smith. I'm the project coordinator for services at the Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation of Oregon and the Pacific Northwest. A couple of things that we do, like many social service organizations, we're thinking about people from a holistic standpoint, and we want to attend to the social needs as well as the health and basic needs that people have to create a better life experience and quality of life for people. We also do services for young people, especially in transition from youth pediatric care to adult care, offering youth programs. The kids with sickle cell have the same needs as all other kids. So they're subject to violence and threats in the community. They need good opportunities for encouragement and mentorship. They need, in addition to that, good health awareness. And if any of you have ever experienced a chronic condition, it's difficult to maintain attention to it because you'd like it to be gone. And so when we're feeling well, people with sickle cell tend to not think about their condition and how to stay well. But when they come into crisis, it's all hands on deck to respond to them. So being aware of just the circumstances that people experience can help us to be more responsive to the needs that people have. I'm thinking about this in relation to the previous conversation about emergency housing services. If you're in emergency for too long, you begin to adapt to it and you can sort of tolerate the day-to-day of an ongoing problem. But when it becomes imminent again, our alarms go back off and we're ready to mobilize ourselves. So same thing with sickle cell disease. When kids are feeling well, when adults are feeling well, their inclination to for self-care and to do the preventive things kind of reduces because we'd like to think that this will go away. Another service that we provide is a support group for families and sickle cell warriors on the third Thursday of each month. And we also offer wellness programming. People can do breathing and movement to improve their internal functioning and also improve their mental and emotional selves. What I wanted to raise up here was that, especially at the city level, if we can take the next step now from just acknowledging sickle cell as a good condition for us to pay attention to now start looking at how we can address the social determinants of health and sort of the health-related social needs efforts that have been going on now, but how that applies to people with sickle cell. So we need a good environment so we're not too hot, too cold. We don't have a lot of stressors going on in our life. All those things affect our metabolism and what can happen in our sickling experience when it comes to hemoglobin and blood levels. One thing that I would request that the city maybe consider as we move forward, maybe in a partnership in the future, is looking at how city resources and programs could help advance both the awareness about the causes of sickle cell disease, the cures, and also the treatments that are available, and how the city can be involved in creating better environments for families and youth and adults who are experiencing sickle cell, and how the different programming areas, everything from police response to crisis situations to EMS responses, what role city plays in housing. Go figure. How about that? To making sure that people in highest need for health related conditions are also considered when we're looking at how to securely house people and make sure that they're safe and healthy. I'm going to stop at that point.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Pastor Taylor, does that complete your testimony or your presentation today?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening and for this opportunity. And I appreciate you, Commissioner Maps.
Oh, thank you so much. We do deeply appreciate you being here today.
Great. I'd like to make some comments if I could, Commissioner Maps, and I'm sure other colleagues might as well. First of all, I very much appreciate this coming forward, Commissioner Maps, and I appreciate our speakers today for their continued advocacy and underscoring the importance of this issue as we recognize September is National Sickle Cell Awareness Month. It's critical that we address the profound impact that this disease has, not only nationally, but as well as locally in our community. This condition, as you heard, affects over 100,000 Americans, and it hits close to home with nearly 200 newborns diagnosed in Oregon each and every year. Sickle cell disease is more than just a medical condition. It challenges, as you've heard, the daily lives of people and the well-being of individuals. Of course, this has an impact on their families. Awareness is crucial not only for support, but we need to keep the awareness going because it also helps drive research in improving treatments. It's imperative that we work to ensure that those affected feel that they have support from all of us in the community and that they have hope, that they can access necessary resources. So once again, I want to thank our presenters from the Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation of Oregon. Your work continues to be important. We will continue to offer you an opportunity to magnify your voice here. And I particularly want to thank Commissioner Maps for bringing this forward today. Commissioner Gonzalez, then Commissioner Rubio.
I just want to thank Mayor Wheeler and Commissioner Maps for introducing the proclamation and the testimony today. Proclamations like this are all about education and awareness, and that goes both ways here. I've learned quite a bit about sickle disease today. While I was aware that Black and Hispanic peoples are more likely to inherit sickle cell disease, I didn't realize that in Oregon, over 150 children are born with the disease each year. I didn't realize that millions of people have sickle cell disease but don't know it because they don't have symptoms. So it's important to get tested on the possibility we may be symptom-free, but may nonetheless have sickle cell disease. So thanks again for bringing this forward and raising awareness about this sometimes very difficult illness and condition. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Commissioner Rubio, then Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you. And thank you to the presenters and to my colleagues for bringing this important issue to our attention. Sickle cell disease is a genetic condition, and sadly, children and adults often struggle with uncoordinated and fragmented care, whether it's expensive treatments to unplanned trips to the hospital to facing stigma. Many are facing these challenging barriers, and there's no widely available cure. And that's why it's important to get tested. And blood transfusions are one of the most critical elements for patients. And these patients benefit most from transfusions from people of the same race or similar ethnicity, but fewer than 10% of Americans donate blood, so we have to do our part through education and outreach. So I'm encouraging Portlanders to make a difference for this disease and for patients by pledging to donate blood this month, because there's no clearer way to help improve and save lives than through donation. So thanks again for being here today.
Thank you. Commissioner Wright.
Thank you, Commissioner Mapps and Mayor Wheeler, for bringing this forward. Before I make some remarks, Pastor Taylor, can I ask you a quick question about your organization? I'm sure has been the reason why there's more people being diagnosed. Is that one of the main focuses of the mission of your organization, is earlier detection?
Yes, it is. And we're so happy too that we have a legacy manual helping us with the diagnosis, and we can offer free diagnostic testing. Yes.
All right.
One of the things that we are working on is to get the information. We're the foot soldiers, and oftentimes we don't get the information early enough to help these parents. And oftentimes they're told if their baby is born as a carrier, not to worry.
Yeah.
They'll live a normal life, and they discard the letter. But then later on, they find out that the child actually, if it's growing up and going mountain climbing, exertion, deep sea diving, they can get into serious trouble.
Thank you so much. I assumed you were going to say something to that effect, and I really appreciate your hard work at the foundation and your presentation by you and Charles Smith, your leadership on this important healthcare challenge. It does receive far too little attention, so your leadership is so appreciated. Truly, we've, for too long, the voices of those impacted by sickle cell anemia have been unheard, and your organization is lifting that and taking away that ignorance and stigma, if you will. Having a moment like this one today where we focus on sickle cell is one of the ways we begin to listen and learn about this genetic disease. We are all reminded today that sickle cell disproportionately affects Black and Brown communities, and that disparity in itself reflects the structural inequities we must address head-on, which is often the case in healthcare. In support of our friends, families, neighbors living with sickle cell, and we lift the good work of the Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation of Oregon. I vote aye. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I'm sorry, I'm good.
Commissioner Mapps, do you want to read the proclamation for us?
Absolutely. First, I want to thank our guests for today's presentation and the work that they do every day. And now I have the great honor of reading today's presentation. Of course, the mayor will jump in to close it out. Whereas sickle cell disease is a global health problem affecting over 100,000 Americans, millions globally, including nearly 200 newborns in Oregon yearly, and shortens the lifespan of its victims while inflicting pain and damages to vital organs. And whereas sickle cell disease is inherited and is most common in people with an ancestry of Africa, South America, Caribbean, Central America, Saudi Arabia, India, and Mediterranean countries such as Turkey, Greece, and Italy. And whereas sickle cell trait is also an inherited condition in which one sickle cell gene and one normal gene is received at the time of conception and may be passed on to infants, and in certain situations may cause complications of sickle cell disease, such as painful episodes. And whereas there are 2.5 people in America with sickle cell trait, 1 in approximately 500 with this painful disease. And it's imperative to inform and educate the general public that while there is no known common cure, the disease is treatable. And whereas sickle cell disease poses great psychological impacts, including in the domains of general public perceptions and attitudes. Education, employment, healthcare access, emotional responses, and effective awareness and sensitivity can lighten the impact this disease imposes.
Now therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim September 2024 to be National Sickle Cell Awareness Month in Portland and encourage all residents to join in this important observance. Thank you, Commissioner Mapps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Pastor Taylor.
Thank you so much for having us. Have a wonderful day.
You too, thank you.
Bye.
Next item on the regular agenda, this is item 808, an emergency ordinance.
Accept and appropriate grant for $405,720 from Oregon Department of Emergency Management for the fossil fuel terminal zoning and comprehensive plan amendments project.
Colleagues, I'll be making a brief introduction on this. This is an ordinance to accept a hazard mitigation grant to support work to strengthen our zoning and development standards in regulating fossil fuel terminals in critical energy infrastructure hub along the Willamette River. The city's hazard mitigation plan and the work that we've done in Multnomah County have revealed the tremendous risks that fossil fuel terminals in the CEI hub pose to our community. We've also worked with our state partners to pass legislation as well as rules to require that all terminals conduct seismic assessments and provide improvement plans. But we know that even facilities built to modern building codes carry with it some risk of failure. This grant will support additional work to regulate fossil fuel terminal development to make the CEI hub even safer. With that, we'll turn it over to Donnie, and he'll explain more about this work and what the grants will specifically support. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor. Don Oliveira for the record. So the CEI hub, the critical energy infrastructure hub, is critical to Portland and the state of Oregon as a whole. It supplies up to 90% of the liquid fuel consumed in the state. At the same time, we recognize the risk that these facilities represent to our community, and we have heard loud and clear the community concerns and pleas that we do more to restrict the growth and expansion of these facilities. It took us 3 tries, thank you, Tom Armstrong, and 6 years to pass modest restrictions on expanding fossil fuel storage tank capacity. This is due in most part to the rules that make up our statewide planning system. Some aspects of regulating fossil fuel terminals are beyond our control as we are preempted by state and federal law. The best example is with our oil trains. Federal law preempts state and local government from regulating trains and rail safety. However, this grant will support a project to research and develop a new policy framework and zoning code standards to regulate the development of fossil fuel infrastructure within those state and federal constraints. We have heard clearly from Portlanders, and you will hear more today, they want us to do more to improve safety in the CEI hub. This grant will allow BPS to dedicate staff resources to figure out our next steps to make the CEI hub safer. Now I'll turn it over to Tom Armstrong, who will give a brief overview of the hub and the project process that will this grant will fund. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Can I share my screen? It says another participant is sharing. Is the timer the thing that's running?
Do we need the presentation?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to finish this in my office.
Okay.
I can get started while it's coming up.
Thank you.
Tom Armstrong from the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. As Donnie said, the Critical Energy Infrastructure Hub, the CEI Hub, has 10 liquid fuel terminals, 1 natural gas facility that's used by Northwest Natural for peak heating on cold winter days. There are over 600 storage tanks in this area with a combined capacity of 350 million gallons of liquid fuels. This area is also in a high liquefaction hazard zone. And most of these facilities were built before seismic codes were adopted. And as the 2022 report that was done by the county and the city in terms of the impact, it found a potential to release anywhere from 94 million to 193 million gallons of liquid, and that it could cost anywhere from $360 million to $2.6 billion in damages. As Donnie mentioned, council has taken a lot of action in the past. We've adopted resolutions opposing expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure. And recently, as 2022, we've adopted zoning code that limits expansion of storage tank capacity.
It's on now.
Yeah. You can jump to slide 4. That we have been finally successful in resolving the state appeals. There's still an outstanding federal court appeal on those zoning code limits. Also in 2022, the state legislature passed a requirement that all of these facilities need to conduct seismic assessments and a 10-year mitigation plan for making them safer. And we're starting to see the results of that this fall from DEQ. But the state program, will make these facilities safer, but it won't eliminate the risk, and it doesn't prohibit or prevent their expansion. Next slide, please. I think what we found through this whole experience is one of the challenges that we had in defending our even modest storage tank limits is our policy framework that's in the comprehensive plan, and needing a better policy foundation that would enable us to do more. And the purpose of this grant work is to fund the dedicated staff time that it takes to research those options, work with the city attorney's office to figure out what we can do within the limits of the statewide planning goals and rules. Next slide, please. And so what we have, we've obtained from FEMA a hazard mitigation grant for $400,000. It comes with a 10% city match, which will be sort of our in-kind staff time, and that it'll fund a 2-year planning position that can be dedicated to researching these options, both policy options and zoning code options, going through a community engagement process to refine those options, and then eventually a legislative project to change our policies and change our code that'll go through the Planning Commission and eventually to City Council. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions regarding this grant.
All right, very good. Colleagues, any questions on this grant? Funds coming in, good purpose, seems like something we should accept. Do we have public testimony on this item?
We do not.
All right, very good. This is an emergency ordinance. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Rye. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks so much for that presentation. I'm very supportive of this. I just want to know, I know I've been barely tracking this, but on the other side of the river, Commissioner Myron and the county has been doing some work in this area. What's the overlap and how is it coordinated? It's connected, correct, to some of their work they're doing?
I think it's connected in that it all it sort of deals with safety and liability there. My understanding is they're exploring a concept which is called risk bonding, in which we want to make sure that if a disaster happens, that the companies are financially responsible for the cleanup and the damages that occur if their tanks fail and contaminate the river or set fire to Forest Park or something like that. And so I think they're exploring how to do that in a way that gets those financial guarantees up front, so that companies can't just declare bankruptcy and push those costs onto the public, whether it's the federal, the state, or the local jurisdictions.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that you're talking to one another.
Commissioner Maps. You're muted, Commissioner Maps. We can't hear you for some reason. Can you hear us? Okay. One sec. Jackson will work on it. We'll take a recess for 1 minute, why don't we? Did Jackson save the day?
Yeah, I think, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. It sounds good.
Great. Well, first, as always, I want to thank staff, both in my office and the staff who are working on the item today. Building on Commissioner Ryan's point, and I'll just say it flat out, I think it would be helpful if the folks in the city who've been working on this could reach out and coordinate with folks in the county. Certainly, we've heard from them in the last couple of days that they didn't know about this ordinance. I'd like to be kind of more legit. And so that is the feedback that I'd like to share. Hope that we can follow up on this, and I want to thank everyone who made this ordinance possible.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Any further questions? Commissioner Rubio?
I just want to clarify, we've connected with Commissioner Myron, who thought it was about a different issue. So we have clarified that with her. And yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
I want to thank DCA Donnie Oliveira and Tom Armstrong for seeking out this grant and their presentation today. As noted in the presentation, staff have encountered many hurdles when working on regulations to improve safety in our CEI hub. We, the city, don't have complete authority over the hub. In fact, every government jurisdiction has a different role. My focus as a city commissioner has been to focus on what we can do while advocating for other government partners to also take action on what they can do. And I want to emphasize that while difficult, there has been consistent efforts by the city and our state to make strides towards a safer CEI hub. We fought hard over 6 years to finally secure some restrictions on expansion of fossil fuel storage tank capacity, which is now in effect. Stated plainly, we restricted the expansion of traditional fossil fuels. This is how we can influence the market and push the sector toward traditional fossil fuels to reduce our carbon emissions here in Portland and across the state. We also advocated successfully before the state legislature to require seismic upgrades so that when the earthquake strikes, the hub is better prepared for that day. Under the new state rules, large capacity oil and fuel storage and distribution facilities must have an assessment and develop a plan to minimize risk of damage to employees and surrounding communities and the environment. Because the hub and its threat to the public and environmental health cannot be ignored, these monies mean that the city will be able to hire staff to do more learning and develop new and different policy approaches that regulate fossil fuel infrastructure within our community. So I'm encouraged by the work to come that will help shape our future planning and zoning policies around the CEI hub, and I want to thank the Bureau in advance for all this work. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. Donnie, don't go too far.
I know.
Next item, 809.
Appoint Breanne Preston to the Home Forward Board of Commissioners for term to expire September 11th,
This is a
2028.
resolution. Donnie?
Thank you, Mayor Donnie Oliveira, for the record. Mayor, Commissioners, this is an appointment to the.
Point of order, just real
Commissioner
quick.
Maps? Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, is this a resolution or an ordinance?
This is actually a resolution.
Got it, sorry. I
All
was
right, no
lost.
problem.
Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner. So this is an appointment to the Home Forward Board of Commissioners, which is made up of 4 City of Portland representatives, 2 from the City of Gresham, 2 from Multnomah County, and 1 representative who participates in Home Forward's housing programs. The candidate for appointment today is a representative from the county, and I'll invite Director Hisserick up to provide a brief bio on this appointment. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning, Helmi Hisserick, Portland Housing Bureau. I'm happy to share brief information about Brianne Preston, who is being proposed to be appointed to the Board of Commissioners. Brianne has lived in 4 countries, 5 states, and has a bachelor's degree in double major in economics, experimental psychology, and a minor in sociology from University of South Carolina, and holds a master's degree in economic development studies from the University of Cambridge. She currently lives in Portland with her husband and a small rescue dog. Brianne Preston is currently employed as the economic research consultant at the Port of Portland. She supports Trade and Economic Development Division as they work to increase economic inclusion and equity in the greater Portland area. Her focus is on understanding the current economic conditions, barriers, and opportunities for future economic prosperity. She believes in the power of qualitative and quantitative data to support the creation of policies and programs that measure positive impacts for diverse individuals and communities. Finally, I would like to read Brianne Preston's statement of interest for this role. I believe that every person deserves access to safe, affordable housing, and that no worker should be priced out of housing in the community they work. My professional life involves looking at the pay side of affordability through labor economics and economic development. I want to serve on this board because I believe my knowledge and expertise could support the mission of Home Forward.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that completes the presentation.
That completes my presentation.
Very good. Colleagues, any further comments or questions? This is a resolution. Please call the roll.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, we have public testimony.
I apologize, of course. Public testimony.
Bridge Crane, Simca Johnson.
Sorry about that. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Sometimes there was no testimony and resolution and reports, and you've been doing that more lately, and I appreciate every opportunity for the public to get involved. Especially, though, the most important thing is to thank Brianne Preston and everyone else who volunteers for these unpaid positions to help make our community better. I don't know how long Ms. Preston has been in the community, but unfortunately, Home Forward is a position or agency with life or death consequences. Because of shortcomings at Home Forward and in our community, our local government, people die in Home Forward. On the top floor during the heat emergency, we did not adequately support those upper floor residents. They died because of the heat. So in addition to the complex issues of how the federal government limits what Home Forward can do to be a part of the homelessness crisis, I want to just encourage us to keep an eye on maximizing Home Forward's ability to, as we heard from public testimony 796, have safe, sanitary housing that people on fixed incomes, unemployed people, and working people can afford. So thank you very much, Ms. Preston, for stepping into this role. The county last week on the consent agenda gave their sign-off and an endorsement. So soon she will have to embrace the joys of being on the Home Forward board if you vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there other folks?
No one else has signed up to testify?
All right, very good.
Although
Please call the roll.
Mr. Mayor, we may have Brianne online.
Oh, okay.
Mayor Brianne's actually joined us, and we'd like to invite her to say a few words. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Welcome.
Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm calling in from a phone. It's always a little tricky getting technology to work on my cell phone. I'm super excited and honored to be joining the Home Forward Board. It's a very surreal experience hearing people talk about your resume. I've been able to listen in this morning and just hear a lot of inspiring public testimony about the housing situation in Portland. And, my background is accurate. I'm definitely a data geek. I love solving complex problems. It's why I got into economic development. And my hope is that I'll be able to use my deep knowledge and joy of numbers to bring a new perspective to the situation. That's it. Happy to answer any questions if you have any questions for me.
Thank you. We appreciate your being willing to do this. It's very important, and your resume is deep, and your community spirit shows. We're very, very happy to have you on this board. But I won't speak before the vote. We'll go ahead and call the roll.
I just had a quick
Commissioner
technical piece.
Gonzalez, sure.
I'm fully going to support this appointment, but I want to just clarify for both this item and the next one, as we're thinking about the transition from our existing form of government to the next, for this appointment, the basis is statutory, correct? As our housing authority, it's under ORS 456.
Correct.
And what's our read for how this would work in 2025, just so I can calibrate? And again, then what we're going to talk about next is a little different creature with a different basis, but would this still be appointed by the mayor and then ratified by council? Is that specified by statute, or is it?
So this was scheduled to be a topic for discussion at the most recent work session, but
Okay.
it did not get that far. There are ongoing discussions, and I guess I would say this: there's not a recipe that works for every situation, because, as you noted, many of these boards and commissions have their own documents that specify how people will be appointed and who must be appointed. So I know that OGR, Government Relations, is working on some information about that. So I think you'll hear more information shortly.
And so the mechanism that we're utilizing to appoint in this case, is it entirely based on statute, or is it based in part on city code, or just custom?
I mean, my understanding is this is the current statute under this, in this government. The city of Portland's mayor appoints, and this council, this body approves all commissioners regardless of jurisdictional representation.
A commentary. I think also to clarify, housing authorities are federal agencies, and so having the local government have an oversight, have a role on oversight is very typical of most cities that want to have a direct input into the federally funded agency.
Well, and that's fair. What I'm really getting, go ahead, you had a.
So luckily, I have a helpful new attorney shadowing me today who was able to look this up as we spoke. There is a statute that identifies that the governing body of a city does identify who the members are. So that's my understanding. We'll correct as needed.
And we're interpreting government body would be the council in the next form.
So what we would use, this is previewing, but I think because the appointment process we're familiar with is mayor appointing, council confirmation, I would expect to see that followed in the future as well. But again, we'll be getting more information.
Okay, and that would be a related question on the next item, and it's more not to question what we're doing, but that we're not inadvertently pushing forward processes that work and make sense in the commission form of government that may not reflect what's contemplated by the next charter. And not to put too fine a point on it, because it's really about the next item. The council and the mayor can each independently appoint their own boards. They can also terminate them under the new charter. And that's not exactly how things have operated under the commission form of government. So I just think it's something that we need to track as we're not inadvertently pushing forward something that doesn't make sense post 2025. I'll get off my soapbox.
All right, thank you. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. I vote aye.
Maps.
I ditto. Want to thank this person.
Mingus, you muted.
Aye.
Rubio.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Thank you, Brianne. As you said, you like complex challenges, and as you know, complex local challenges take complex local solutions. I hope your data geek, your words, is expressive at the table and be rooted in what the data says. And with that discipline, you just might need to challenge the current plans now and then. Anyway, thanks for your willingness. I vote aye.
Wheeler.
Thank you. I vote aye. The resolution is adopted. Next, item 810.
Amend code to create the Portland Advisory Committee on Housing for Portland Housing Bureau.
Is a non-emergency ordinance, and as will be not surprising to anybody, I'm turning it over to Donnie. Welcome.
Thanks, Mayor. It's good to be back.
Is it?
Donnie Oliveira for the record. So, Commissioners, the ordinance before council today amends city code as related to the public participation and advisory process for the Housing Bureau by consolidating 3 of the Bureau's 6 advisory bodies. This aligns with current efforts around the transition of government for streamlining city functions, and it creates a clear community advisory body for future city councils to engage with for policy issues related to housing. So specifically, this legislation is designed to consolidate 3 bodies: the Portland Housing Advisory Commission, Rental Services Commission, and the Fair Housing Advocacy Committee. With each of these advisory bodies have provided valuable input to the Housing Bureau regarding their subject area, their overlapping themes within housing policy, and the unpredictable political directives, both nationally and locally, have made it challenging to maintain robust work plans for each body. Community members serving on these advisory bodies have repeatedly expressed concerns about the impact of their work, overlapping scopes, and duplication of their efforts. Housing Bureau staff serving as liaisons also face capacity concerns in supporting 3 advisory bodies related to housing policy on a broad scope. I'm going to turn it over to Director Hisserick and Jesse Connor for a presentation, and we'll answer questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Helmi Hisserick, Portland Housing Bureau. The proposal before council today is in response to continual feedback and concerns expressed by community members serving on several of Portland Housing Bureau's advisory bodies since 2021. Direction from commissioners to assess all existing advisory bodies and the charter transition that has provided us the chance to identify potential opportunities to streamline and improve function of advisory bodies. In the summer of 2024, Portland Housing Bureau held a series of meetings to gather feedback on the recommended changes, and feedback received is broadly supportive and has been incorporated. Next slide. In 2023, Portland Housing Bureau received separate requests from then Commissioner in charge of Civic Life and the Housing Commissioner to do an internal assessment of existing advisory bodies and take needed steps to consolidate or sunset any groups based on that review. The Housing Bureau considered all 5 of our advisory bodies: the Housing Bond Advisory Body, the North-Northeast Oversight Committee, our topic and funding specific, and have natural sunsets. They will conclude at the end of their project life cycle. 3 different commissions, the Portland Housing Advisory Commission, which we call PHAC, the Fair Housing Advisory Committee, called FHAC, and the Rental Services Commission, RSC, are in perpetuity, and their subject matter of those bodies overlap. PHB, Portland Housing Bureau, determined that these 3 advisory bodies needed further analysis. This presentation outlines the process for that analysis and the Bureau's recommended action to council. At the next slide, please. At the onset of the Bureau's analysis of the PHAC, or Portland Housing Advisory Committee, FHAC, and RSC, the then interim director of the Portland Housing Bureau, Director Bonacore, paused the meeting convenings for groups based on challenges heard from committee members, and so staff liaison to the advisory bodies could focus on the review of these advisory bodies. I do want to note that although the advisory bodies were paused, we did reach out for representatives to participate on the Bureau's Budget Advisory Committee. The first half of 2024 was dedicated to completing a comparative analysis and draft recommendations, hosting opportunities for feedback, and finally presenting our recommendations for council action. Now I'll turn it over to my senior policy analyst, Jesse Connor, to walk through the process.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Helmi. For the record, Jessie Connor, she, her pronouns, Senior Policy Analyst of Housing Bureau. So for the evaluation process, we took a three-step approach. The first to examine peer cities for their housing and community-related advisory body practices. We narrowed that down to 4 peer cities of Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, and Minneapolis. We also consulted with the staff at the Office of Community and Civic Life with their advisory body program on city context, best practices, and setting a scope of work, as well as doing an internal comparative analysis amongst the 3 bodies themselves, looking at scope, membership, advising structures, and challenges. Next slide. When we took a look at the national scan of our peer cities, we could really see that housing-related groups are organized around generally four themes. A singular project, which is reflective of the Housing Bond and the North-Northeast Oversight Committee. Scope and purpose is really clearly defined. A comprehensive approach where multiple issue areas are centered around a topic. This would include all of the scopes of work of PHAC, FHAC, and RSC. There were ones that were also community population specific. For example, renters. This would encompass housing-related issues, but would also include transportation, health, economic development, et cetera. So these 2 would encompass all of FHAC, RSC, and PHAC scope of work. And the final one was quasi-judicial, which we declined to look into very far because that wasn't applicable in our setting. Next slide. When we spoke with our colleagues at Civic Life and the advisory body program, we discovered that program is really centered on the experience of the advisory body members themselves. Their training, their onboarding, the supports, the removing of barriers, and that there wasn't any city code or formal guidance in setting up a advisory body due to the varying needs, authority, and subject matter needed by each bureau. That said, our colleagues were extremely helpful in reminding us and guiding us that they do have supports around bylaws that are going to operate the governing structure, how often meetings are frequented, term limits, quorum, and technical aspects such as that. Next slide. So the next few slides, we're going to talk about our internal comparison of the 3 groups to one another. What you'll see on this slide is that there's a fair amount of overlap, that each of these groups touches on some type of policy and program review and feedback loop, as well as a fair amount of either functioning as our budget advisory committee, helping the Bureau identify new resources, advocate for resources, or advise on specific budgets for particular types of programs. Next slide. FHAC, PHAC, and RSC continue to share key similarities around their discussion topics related to renters, property owners, and property management companies. The expertise of the members themselves cover the spectrum of the housing industry, landlord, tenant developers, financing, policy regulations, et cetera. They all advise the same bureau structure and city council. Each of them provides a public forum for community input, which has in the past at times been confusing for community members to know which advisory body they should be attending, or should they make the time to attend all 3 to provide their comments. Also in the charter, numbers 5 and 6 here, for the members on these advisory bodies, they really do need to reflect the community that they represent as far as professional and lived experience, and they also are being asked to set aside their individual interests and focus on the community holistically. Next slide. Finally, the staff liaisons to each of these groups collected what we had been hearing over the last 4 or 5 years of challenges for each of our groups. We've heard that there's uneven representation of expertise and community background. The scope of work is too broad. Challenges around developing work plans within the scope of that particular committee, or within the Bureau itself. They were either going to step into a scope of work of one of the other bodies. Their purpose and role and impact in particular is unclear. Folks were really feeling like their advice and recommendations were going unheard. Duplication of work products, And then an additional challenge, an external challenge is, changing local and federal legislative champions. We can see with the RSC when we had at the time a very strong legislative champion in the landlord-tenant space. We saw the development of a lot of landlord-tenant policies at the city, as well as the Rental Services Commission. Similarly, on the federal level, with the Obama administration, a really strengthening of the furthering fair housing requirements. Changing administrations move the needle away from those points or change them in a different direction, making some of that work a little bit challenging to continue to engage our oversight committees. Next slide, please. So we had some stakeholder feedback sessions throughout the spring and summer, both just with our current advisory body members and then with the general public. We did have some specific questions around scope of work, skills and experience, facilitation, barriers, and of course, the name of a potential new committee. For scope of work, they really underscored that the importance is to be really clear about what the group can and does not influence. We heard across the board that we were not proposing enough seats to get all of the experience desired. And then on the other hand, we heard anything more than 15 seats is not really manageable. There was general support for adding youth seats. For facilitation, there was really a strong interest in having the Deputy Director of the Housing Bureau participate regularly, as well as providing stipends, childcare, translation, food, and offering alternating day and evening classes to make sure that we're removing barriers for all of our participants. Next slide. Additional comments included to just underscore that the group's value comes in its broad representation and community-based perspectives as a collective. Again, we heard differing views that we should have more tenant advocacy support on the representation on the committee. On the other hand, we heard that PHB's advisory bodies skewed too much towards the tenant perspective, so we're looking for a balance there. We did hear the need for a continuous feedback loop, broad support for stipends in either an opt-in or opt-out, barrier removal, and of course to make sure that we are really robust in our onboarding. And with that, I'll turn it back to the director for recommendations and next steps.
Thank you. As we considered how other cities operate housing and housing-related advisory bodies, as well as the flexibility the city has in establishing advisory bodies to fit business and/or community needs, and we examined the overlap between these three advisory bodies, and that the Bureau may not be making the most of our volunteers' time, we see there's an opportunity before us to apply the lessons learned and take actionable steps to incorporate those lessons. First is that the single advisory body can provide intersecting perspectives. Establishing a clear scope of work is essential and should incorporate elements of all three groups. The community at large needs a central platform to bring their housing issues and concerns forward. Membership should include professional and lived experience. Work plans need clear organization around themes such as production, preservation, and protection. And finally, it is essential to the success of the Bureau that the advisory bodies have the support of the Bureau leadership. Next slide. Our recommendation is to realign the Housing Bureau advisory bodies into a single advisory body, the Portland Advisory Committee on Housing. While balancing the professional and lived experience, the Bureau will also seek to include youth representation and, to the extent possible, district representation. Next slide. The Portland Advisory Committee on Housing is created to elevate the importance of housing stabilization in our community. To achieve that goal, the PATCH will provide comprehensive advice on housing policy and planning priorities, including those faced by tenants, landlords, homeowners, and affordable housing development community. Periodically review the Bureau's strategic plans, reinforce the Bureau's commitment to racial equity, provide the public forum for community comments, and as mentioned earlier, will have its work organized around the themes of production, new construction policies and programs, protection, specifically landlord-tenant policies, federal reporting on fair housing, and safety measures, and preservation, programs for maintaining existing affordable housing in Portland. The total seats will range from 10 to 15 open seats of 10 to 15 seats at any one time, with up to 2 seats to be held for youth commissioners age 16 to 24. The next steps, thank you. This slide is a little bit inaccurate. Today is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. We ask council to pass this item to a second reading for adoption. Following council's approval, we will begin the application and appointment process with the intention of being back before you before the end of the calendar year with new members. The first half of 2025 will be spent onboarding and training our new members, and a work plan development will start in earnest during the summer. That concludes this presentation.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you. I'm thrilled about this. I wish I would have had time to focus on it. There were these big lifts called permitting and transitional housing for Safe Rest Villages that kind of took up most of my time in those 2 years, but this is awesome. I know when I was overseeing Civic Life, we were hoping actually more bureaus would come forward with this type of adaptive solution to, quite frankly, some clutter, if you will. And so I'm just really thrilled with the efficiency. Just a couple of questions. I'm glad that you mentioned youth, 16 to 24, but I'm wondering, what about, was there conversations about elders? One of our biggest challenges is people being able to stay in Portland and aging in place. So will they also have representation?
Thank you, Commissioner. We did hear a couple of comments in our feedback sessions about including a seat set aside for seniors or elders. As far as the Bureau landed, we did land on just 2 seats set aside for youth. There was a little bit of a concern that when we started parsing out seats based on particular communities, because we also heard that in the landlord space and in the tenant and then the property management space, we just noticed that our number of seats got quite large.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on that. I think sometimes it's the section of inclusion that's increasingly not included.
I will say, without setting aside a specific seat, we have historically had representation on the advisory body from or folks that are either elderly or serving elderly clients, and we will maintain a focus on the diverse representation on the board with that in mind, without setting aside specific seats.
Great. And also, I know what the word lived experience means most of the time, but it's used so frequently now. I'd like you to define it in this circumstance.
Of course.
Do you want us to define it now verbally or in writing?
I'd like you to define it as related to what you're saying you want from the people that are serving on this commission. Does lived experience mean what in this circumstance?
It's gonna, Commissioner, thank you for the question. The way that I see this playing out is going to get a bit descriptive when we put together the application and the call for membership, because lived experience, it's across all of the areas of expertise that we might be looking for in the professional sense. So housing instability, renters, homeowners, property management companies, folks who either currently do or have that before. We certainly want to make sure that, if possible, we're able to get district representation and reflect the demographics of the city. If not, having people who support and represent those communities on this particular board.
It's a broad brush definition, and I appreciate that. Thanks.
Commissioner Mapps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance and this process looks fine to me. I do have some general feedback, I think, for the mayor and the city administrator. Many of our advisory bodies are in the process of evolving, and I think that's a healthy thing. Long overdue in many spaces. However, at least my office is starting to get feedback from people who currently serve on committees that they don't feel particularly educated about how this process works, and frankly, they feel a little bit disrespected as we go through and frankly sunset some committees. So I hope that as we go through this necessary change, we can also do some thinking about how to support our current volunteers as we manage this change. Thank you very much. You guys don't have to respond to that. I do hope that someone notes it though.
Thanks, Commissioner Mapps. Commissioner Gonzalez.
I really appreciate the efforts to consolidate boards. I just think we need to be doing a lot of this with the caveat that Commissioner Mapps has alluded to, thanking and appreciating the folks who've contributed to the city and over the years, but trying to streamline the number of boards. I wanted to piggyback because I'm not sure I completely absorbed the answer to Commissioner Ryan's question. So we're going to appoint 2 youth representatives. So how do we make sure we balance on the senior housing side of that? I mean, that might not have been exactly the question he was getting at, but when we're so specific about one segment and don't mention another, I just want to make sure I'm following how we're going to make sure on that.
You know, what I will say is that historically, we have had representation from people that are either, excuse me, elderly with lived experience or serving elderly in housing. What we have not had is youth representation. So I believe the addition of seats for youth is really to ensure that we do also have youth representation on the board, but there will be a diverse, our objective, and it is stated in the way we've drafted our guidelines, is that we will have a diversity of representation with both professional experience in the housing space, lived experience in the housing space, as well as diverse identities represented on the commission.
And so we're fixing a perceived problem in the status quo that we've had potentially skewed representation. And that's still, there's a little bit of concern there. I just want to make sure we're thinking that through all the way. So what percentage of our tenants today in the city of Portland are seniors versus ages 16 to 24?
I can't answer that. I'd have to go back and look at the data. I do think the calling out of elderly is very important because that is one of the fastest growing populations of houseless individuals in Portland. So I think that we can take this feedback back and reconsider the idea of adding a seat for elderly, if that would be the right direction.
I would just encourage you to evaluate the relative demographics, the what percentage of our tenants are seniors versus the 16 to 24. That's not to exclude the 16 to 24, but it's just trying to make sure that we're thoughtful that we're going to be this prescriptive in code. Second, I occasionally get reminded of the fact that hotel operators, and I'm not sure about Airbnb, but may inadvertently walk themselves into landlord-tenant issues. And that's really a state law issue that we're probably not in the position to address. But I guess it's really a question, should they have a seat at this table as well when we're talking about city policy and landlord-tenant law? I mean, the specific scenarios that I hear are pretty tough on hotel operators that are not really set up to be landlords, but yet they're dealing with landlord-tenant law in a very direct way. And again, I'm not sure about Airbnb operators, but there's at least a potential. So I would just put that back as something to think about. Do they need to have some sort of engagement in this area? The last really gets to the questions I was asking on the previous item. So we're putting this in code, or we're carrying over, creating this in code. Do we deem this the product of is this a legislative advisory board going forward? Is it an executive advisory board going forward? Because as designed, it kind of looks like we're designing it to be both, right? But because we're putting in code, it doesn't go away unless the next council decides it goes away.
I'm not going to answer the questions related to legislative and executive. I think we can ask the legal about that. But from a operational standpoint, this is an advisory body, so they have no legislative, they have no direct role. They cannot make decisions. They can only advise the department. However, their advice is important to the department. We will engage in dialogue at a deeper level than we can do in a council meeting. And we will take the advice of this advisory body and bring it to both the legislative branch when they're considering policy making, and we will also bring it to the executive branch when they are considering budgetary or other executive decision making. So it is input.
this gets at the fundamental question. It's really an advisory board of the Housing Bureau or to the director. Why put it in code? The mayor currently, the city administrator could create, frankly, I think as a director, you could probably do it yourself too. Set up an advisory board. Yeah, that's just as could a future mayor, city administrator, a housing director of the Housing Bureau. It's why. What do we gain by enshrining it in code outside of the consolidation of 3 existing ones?
Again, I will leave some of those questions on. Let me give you my take on this. So first of all, yes, we do set advisory bodies. I will bring together an advisory body ad hoc for specific items. But that might be my selection of people advising on something, whereas this advisory body is not appointed by the department or the department head is actually appointed by the elected officials of the city. And so by having, I typically, and I don't know exactly how it's structured here, but typically the mayor will make a recommendation and the legislative body will authorize that advisory body. So it ensures over time that you have a community oversight of or advising the department that is not brought together by the director of the department or by the department staff.
If I may, direct. Commissioner, what we're doing today is repealing and replacing an existing advisory body and code, as well as repealing another one. That would be the Rental Services Commission when we do the consolidation. It has been a general practice of the council to codify certain advisory bodies, the Planning Commission, and I believe the new Sustainability Commission are also in city code. If they're not in Title III, they're probably in 33.
When in that tradition is exactly what I'm getting at, right? That this has been custom and practice in the commission form of government that may not be appropriate for the new form of government. Council can also separately create an advisory committee at any time. They don't need to go through the executive branch or the mayor. That's their prerogative. They can create a housing committee of council, which I suspect I would think they would do, right? Or, at least have a committee in this area. And I'm a little bit concerned that we're carrying over by tradition things that going forward should be more clearly separated. And again, when we do it in code, it's in directing what the Housing Bureau director is going to do and how the mayor is going to operate. We're getting into interesting can of worms.
Commissioner, if I just offer just a general good governance perspective on advisory committees, one of the opportunities that having something like this committee codified is it allows the future city council to have a say in who's appointed to advisory bodies that are directly supporting bureaus. To the director's point, she can bring together advisory, bodies ad hoc as she needs, but this particular committee is appointed by the council so council can vet essentially what community participation is engaged in supporting the director. And like you and Commissioner Ryan just raised about the types of individuals you want on there, that'll be the moment for council to influence that because there's an appointment process. Otherwise, it would be a process that's just run out of the administrative side that community and council wouldn't have, access to. So there's just a consideration for good governance that, the council would want to have a say in an appointment. And then there are some commissions, like the Planning Commission that Jesse just mentioned, that it's codified for other reasons, like state requirements to have a planning commission.
Fair enough.
So,
right. Yeah, there's
but to your point, I think, I'll defer to City Administrator Jordan. We are evaluating all the systems that this new form of government is going to have and what is the appropriate, structure to running those, including communities.
And actually your answer really gets at a fundamental separation of powers question. I mean, that I'm not sure we're really tackling when we're having these coming forward, but they're, again, it's mostly out of tradition and custom that we've done it a certain way. But new council can create a committee or advisory board anytime they want that engages the community in such ways as the next legislative branch deems fit. The executive can do the same thing. Where there may be reasons that they both conclude to do that together. Prescribing in code is, we're getting into some separation of power questions. And I don't think on purpose. I think it's out of custom and not because of the deliberation of the legislative branch that's the right thing to inject themselves into.
Absolutely. No, I think that you're calling a question that I think the next council and mayor structure will have to evaluate is how committees are appointed and by who, and how do you staff them and oversee them?
But you guys are bringing to council right now something that enshrines that for the next council and next mayor. So I want to be, and I'm just hoping that these questions are getting asked early enough in the process before it appears before us.
Well, if there's a silver lining to that, to get to your point, Commissioner, we're reducing the number of committees. So in the event that there's a change, it's less change. I mean, in that way, because the alternative was we just would have kept 6 advisory committees going until we got clearer direction from the future council. In this case, we thought it was a good governance model because of the staff capacity issues and the overlapping responsibilities that maybe regardless of transition, this would have been a good, organizational bureaucratic step. But to your point, yeah, I think as we evaluate the committees, this will be one that'll be evaluated.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good. Do we have public testimony on this item?
We have one person signed up. Bridge Crane, Simca Johnson.
Good morning. Bridge Crane, Simca Johnson, and as a person who will qualify for services from Northwest Pilot Project in a mere number of days, I appreciate the thought about the situation we face with homeless elderly people. Not everyone's favorite publication is Street Roots, but on page 6, No Place to Grow Old in Portland. And I especially appreciate Mayor Gonzalez, or possibly future Mayor Gonzalez's question about the data, who is served how, so that we can use that to influence these developments, regardless of whether or not there's a complicated situation, separation of powers issue. I do think that it's unfortunate that in this time that we've used, we didn't say, thank you, Felicia Tripp Folsom, thank you, Sarah Stevenson, thank you, Ernesto Fonseca, thank you, Heather Leons, thank you, Julia Delgado, thank you, Kimberly Horner, thank you, Stephanie Condor. I'm not sure how timely those thanks are because their work was paused, as we heard. So I don't know exactly how long that pause was under Boncore, but if we're going to recruit, whether it's done, in the future, as Mr. Gonzalez has said, we might have the Mayor's Housing Advisory Commission and the Council's Housing Advisory Commission, or we may take what you will most likely pass now and finesse it a little bit after 60% of you are gone. So the issue of youth representation, I think it's very important to ask, how that serves. And also, I do think a little thing that was missing here is I don't think the public, and then I'll admit it myself, what the heck is the scope of the PHB? I think the PHB addresses everything from home ownership equity, not equity in homes, but meaning, are we doing a crappy job of helping people of color attain home ownership? There's data that says we are. And also under the PHB umbrella, do we have the issue of there's many people in this community who will never qualify for home ownership and will only be renters, and now we're taking away the rental advisory committee and not talking about how many tenants aren't home forward, how many are under Stark Firs, how many are under Joe Weston's American Property Management. Those conversations need to get louder and more public so we can address this housing crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes testimony.
All right, anything else for the good of the order? This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Next item is 811. This is a report.
accept bid of $1,793,810 from Cedar Mill Construction Company, LLC, for the Thompson Elk Fountain Restoration Project.
Colleagues, today we're discussing the acceptance of a bid from Cedar Mill Construction Company, LLC, for the restoration of the Elk Bronze and Thompson Fountain, the second oldest piece of public art in the city. It was damaged in July of 2020. I'll now pass it to Priya Dhanapal, Deputy City Administrator for Public Works. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, I'm Priya Dhanapal, DCA Public Works, and I'm honored to present the Elk Bronze and Thompson Fountain Restoration Project, a significant step in our efforts to restore a cherished community landmark. This fountain, installed in the year 1900 and often referred to as the Elk Fountain, is a beloved hub of activation and the second oldest piece of public art in the city. After its damage in 2020, it was removed from its original location and safely stored, with the community rallying for its rehabilitation. In May of 2022, the community and the City Council united to champion the rehabilitation and return of the Elk Fountain to its original condition and location. The Council directed the bureaus to take necessary steps for restoration through Council Resolution number 37576, assigning the Water Bureau the responsibility of delivering the project. Today, we celebrate a major milestone in restoring the Elk Fountain to its original glory. The project design is complete and was developed with significant community input. Necessary permits have also been secured, allowing us to move forward towards construction. This achievement is a testament to the community collaboration, with the design work and permitting made possible by community donations, which was led and coordinated by Portland Parks Foundation and RAC. We have Jessica Green, Executive Director of Portland Parks Foundation, in the audience with us today as well. So without these efforts and the community contribution, this would not have been possible. The bid of $1.79 million from Cedar Mill Construction Company is specifically for the restoration of the Thomas Elk Fountain, covering the construction and associated work to return the fountain to its original condition and location. The ask for today is to accept the bid, allowing us to proceed with the restoration work and honor the commitment to this important landmark. The statue and fountain are expected to be returned to the original location in the middle of Southwest Main between 3rd and 4th Avenue in the summer of 2025. With that, it's my pleasure to pass it on to Jody Inman, Chief Engineer for the Portland Water Bureau, to share an overview of the project and the bid process.
Thank you, DCA Dhanapal, and good morning, City Council. Next slide, please.
Thanks.
Again, we really want to reiterate we are here today, and this is a success of a collaborative partnership between the community and the city in achieving this great milestone. There were many partners that were part of getting this project restarted, as well as getting it to where it is here today. Next slide, please. So the Thompson Elk Fountain was donated by a former mayor of the city of Portland, David P. Thompson, in 1900, and was formally presented to the city on November 19th, 1900. Next slide, please. As was mentioned by Priya, during the tumultuous year of 2020, the fountain and the statue and the fountain were damaged during the protests in the park, and in order to preserve the fountain from further damage, the fountain and the granite components were removed. They were cleaned and stored. Next slide, please. Here you can see today the current condition and how we have successfully cleaned and restored those components so far. Unfortunately, many of the components of the fountain, of the granite fountain itself, were actually damaged beyond repair. Next slide, please. So subsequent to that, in the late fall of 2021 and into early 2022, we began having conversations responding to both the city and the community's desire to replace the elk and the fountain in its previous location. As you can remember, at that time, there was some differing opinions about what that should look like. And so in May of 2022, there was a council resolution passed that said we shall go forward and determine a feasibility study and look into what would be the recommendation for the fountain. That began, and what I made the mistake of pulling out of here was the detailed schedule. So I'll go through it for a moment. The feasibility study was underway and was completed in October of 2022, subsequent to the City Council resolution. That feasibility study identified the potential cost and a schedule for the project, which was a collaborative effort was then undertaken between the city and the community on how we might begin to fund that project and move it forward. That resulted in May of 2023, the council actually approved funding of $1.5 million to restore the fountain. This funding is, the funding for the project exceeded 1.5 million, and the overall project funding includes a significant donation and effort by the community to fund the design, funding by the city council of the $1.5 million, as well as some additional $700,000 we got from insurance. So the funding for the construction of the fountain was actually authorized to begin in 7/1 of 23, so just July of last year. And we had a schedule that we were pushing, which was very ambitious and again, really focused on having the community help us get to this milestone. We were hoping to be asking for a request to authorize the bid in summer of 2024, so we're just about a month and a half behind, which is actually a phenomenally quick schedule to move from design conception through design, permitting, and into construction in just over a year. Next slide, please. So some of the amazing parts of this restoration project is there are a lot of design objectives in addition to just restoring the fountain and the elk. One of the there are a couple major points that this new design will provide us. One, the elk will actually now be seismically resilient. David Olongi, who's with us here from the Water Bureau, is fond of reminding us that previously the elk statue was actually attached to the fountain with one bolt. It will now be seismically resilient, so it should remain standing after a seismic event. Another important component is that the fountain used to use continually fresh water. It will now be a recirculating fountain. That will save almost 27 million gallons of water per year by being a recirculating fountain, which equates to, at the time, around over $240,000 of cost. Next slide. So the project was put out to bid in the spring of 2024. The work to restore the elk bronze and the fountain are really valuable works of art. It is not a typical Water Bureau project where we're putting pipes and pumps and tanks in the ground. As such, the work to restore it did require specialty skills, especially in the area of stone masonry work. We are also requiring and are able to actually get the same granite that was used in the fountain base from the same quarry in Vermont that the original fountain was from. To ensure that the beloved symbols are restored with the appropriate care and respect as part of this project, some of the scopes of work were designated as specialty work, and that was specifically the stone masonry work. We wanted to have somebody that had demonstrated experience dealing with cultural artifacts like this and art pieces. And so we required that the contractor demonstrate that they had done projects of this size and with these types of this type of care in mind. That pre-qualification was done. We reached out to the COBID community as part of that, and unfortunately, there were no COBID certified firms that were pre-qualified for that stone masonry work. That stone masonry work is a large part of the contract. It is almost 43% of the total contract work. Next slide, please. Regarding the remainder of the work, there were 7 different areas of work that were also put out to bid. The contractor reached out to 59 different COBID firms over those different 7 areas of work, which you can see tabulated here. 59 were contacted twice. Only 5 submitted bids. Of those 5 that submitted bids, each one of them is a part of this contract. So there was a lot of outreach done, and anybody who did respond with a bid is actually part of this project. Next slide, please. I already went into the funding a little bit, but we have available funding for the construction of that $2.2 million, which includes the council-provided $1.5 million from the general fund, as well as $700,000, which we received from insurance for the damage to the fountain and the statue. This cost, the proposed bid, is $1.8 million, which is 19.49% higher than the estimated cost of $1.5. However, you can see with a budget of $2.2 million, We do have adequate funding to move forward with some remainder for contingency as well as to pay for our contract administration and inspection. Any funds that are unused will be returned to the general fund. Next slide, please. And with that, we are hereby requesting authorization to award the bid to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for construction of the Thompson Elk Fountain Restoration Project at a cost of $1,792,810. And that concludes my presentation. And we're
Very
available
good.
for questions.
Do we have people signed up for testimony on this?
We do. We have one person.
All right, why don't we hear from them, and then we'll get to Q&A if there is any.
Bridge Crane Simca Johnson.
Finally, I'm Bridge Crane Simca Johnson. Thank you for finally getting this all out in public about the restoration of the Thompson Fountain and statue. For those of us who aren't participating with us here and have anything they'd like to say about it, when you're logged into Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Thompson Fountain, and there's a page which has documented this saga of various pieces of public art that aren't public because they're locked in a warehouse. According to my first-person pictures, the elk went on vacation first. My photos from Thursday, July 2nd, show an empty base, so the elk was rescued. And then later, the fountain, which has an octagon base, and I think only 1/8 of the base, the containing part of the fountain, was damaged by protesters. Any other damage occurred during the work of actually putting those pieces in storage. So I know there's a lot of tension in our community and misunderstandings about did protesters destroy the fountain or whatever, and it was a little vague here in speaking. But again, protesters who I don't fully agree with did damage some of the granite, about 1/8 of the octagonal base. If there was more damage beyond that, it is probably from the hasty or overly hasty work that was done to remove the fountain before the nighttime protesters returned and made that a little bit risky for those workers. But thank you for finding the money and engaging the community to get this done. We still have to know how we're going to respect some of the trauma that the Native American community occurred with various executions that were done during the time of President Lincoln, and how we feel about Teddy Roosevelt. Those conversations maybe are going to wait until we have the new charter government. But I look forward to hearing probably all of you vote aye so we can start the process of having earthquake resilient elk. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? This is a report. I'll entertain a motion to accept it.
So moved.
Commissioner Gonzalez moves, Commissioner Ryan seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ellis.
I am thrilled to accept this bid today to finally restore prized possession to its rightful spot in downtown Portland. The presence of our beloved elk has been sorely missed for all those who live, work, and visit downtown over the last 4.5 years. Accepting the bid and restoring the elk marks a huge and symbolic step forward in our continuing recovery. Over the summer, we finally saw the fortified barricades come down around the federal courthouse. We've seen additional tree lightings installed and City Hall undergoing a historic renovation. The restoration of the Elk Fountain is an important step forward and one of healing. Long live the elk. Greatly looking forward to seeing the work progress, and I'm happy to vote aye.
Maps.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone who contributed to getting us to this moment. This has been a marathon, to say the least. The Water Bureau in particular has been in a leadership role, but we truly couldn't have gotten here without the work of many different bureaus and nonprofit groups. Also want to call out Dan Ryan in particular. This has been one of his passion projects for as long as we've been on council, so I've appreciated his partnership and his and holding us accountable for moving this forward. And all of us who've been on council for a couple of years have certainly heard members of the public come forward and say we need to move forward with getting this important piece of public art restored. Today is a pivotal day in that journey, which is why I am delighted to vote aye.
Rubio.
Today, we're taking a major step forward in this restoration process and hopefully see it back in our downtown. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge my colleague Dan Ryan and the Portlanders who advocated for this project to move forward, including the Parks Foundation team and many staffers who worked from each and every bureau to get us here today. So excited to see this iconic symbol return soon. I vote aye.
Ryan?
Yes, thank you to those presenting today. And Jody, I appreciated the timeline overview, and I appreciate you going into great detail. I will say the missing person from the table, though I see you out there, is Jessica Green, the leader of the Portland Parks Foundation, and with her and the champions on your board, and a special shout out to Kit and Bill Hawkins, who really have driven this project along. Yes, I'm really glad to see this today. I'm pleased to see that we're finally working with vendors selected by procurement to get the restoration work done. I did listen to it. I heard that it was a quicker process than usual, yet I'm still baffled that it took this long. When I brought the ordinance to council in May of 2022, 4 of you were here on the council, and our work that day did herd the cats from the bureaus and the organizations who did seem very stuck at that time. And so never in my wildest dreams would I think that we would be celebrating that it might be happening in 2025. But if I've one thing this job has taught me is patience and persistence. So I'm thrilled that it'll be moving forward. And just so you know, for any elected official, bureau director, or manager at any level, really this is one of the main complaints out there from our community members is they're baffled by how long it takes to move things along, especially when it's something so concrete. Resilience takes action. We must not wait another 2+ years to see the Thompson Elk return to its pedestal. And I did appreciate the explanation about the COVID challenges. This is very specialized work. That said, I also appreciate the outreach. We have to keep that up. Let me just pause for a second. Why is the elk important? It's a symbol that connects us with this place we love, called Portland. It centers a civic section of downtown where the city and the federal government services stand. I'm from this town. I'm a hometown product. But I did live elsewhere from the ages 18 to 35. And it was always a grounding reminder that I was home when I saw the elk, especially during the holidays. We have the red nose on the reindeer at the former White Stag turned into the Oregon sign, the martini glass up on the hill. There's Peacock Lane over on the east side. Yet none of that captures my heart more than the reef around the neck of the elk. Of course, I accept the report. I cannot wait to see the elk placed back on its majestic pedestal, where the city may once again enjoy its presence, and we can show the rest of the country that we are strong and resilient, we have grit, and we have pride. Please, Portland, let's keep moving forward and be known as a city who can get things done. We look forward to the Thompson Elk Fountain being back in place in early 2025. Let's go. I vote aye.
Wheeler?
Well, I want to thank you all. This was, there's probably very few things that I've received as many text messages, emails, and calls about as this. And the day after it was damaged by rioters, and I'm using that word intentionally, by the way, the day after it was criminally destroyed, I received a lot of very, very angry and upset text messages and emails and whatnot, justifiably so. Because as Commissioner Ryan and Commissioner Gonzalez have said, this is symbolically important to our community. And to see it destroyed really hit people hard. It's a small part of our community, but it gets at the heart of what was happening in that period of history. And so I'm glad we're moving away from it. And I'm glad that our city is recovering, that crime is down, that new business starts are up, that foot traffic is up, that we're seeing significant improvements in livability as a result of the initiatives that we have collectively put into place. We're working on the homeless solution, and I feel that we are unified as a council to continue that effort as well. But this, more than anything else, probably exemplified for people the trauma of what was happening in this community in 2020. Now, to the question of why did it take so long? Sometimes a fountain isn't just a fountain, especially since it had antiquated utilities attached to it that needed to be redesigned and replaced. Essentially, It's an artwork, but it's also a transportation project because it's sitting in the middle of a street that was poorly designed for modern purposes. So that had to be rethought too. And then, of course, there's just the sheer artistic elements of this project. You can't just put this together. You require extremely specialized and extremely rare skill sets in order to do it in an honorable way that respects the traditions of this city. And it's being done. And my great hope, to be honest with you, is that 20, 30 years from now, people look at it, they're delighted by it, and they forget that this conversation ever happened. I vote aye, and the report is accepted. And we're adjourned.